What's up, guys? Back again with another review. This time it's a double review of two made-for-TV horror movies from the 70s that I picked up from the recent Kino Lorber sale that took place in early October. My bad, guys. Only Night Terror came from the Kino Lorber sale. I already had the other film. I'm a huge fan of made-for-TV movies, especially the scary ones. And, they were always an event when you stumbled on one of them as a kid. I've already made a video discussing Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. It wasn't really a review of the film. I have a series of videos I call Storytime videos, where I detail the experience I had watching certain films that left a mark on me. And this was the first the first video in that series because it did leave such a mark on me. Ironically, I did see this on a projector as a child, and if you want to find that video on my channel, it's one of my Storytime videos. It scared the heck out of me when I was a kid. I think it came out in 73. The other film, Night Terror, aka Night Drive. Now, if you want to look it up on IMDb, you got to look up under Night Drive, starring Valerie Harper. This was my first time watch. I had heard about it. I had read about it, and I've always wanted to see it. And of course, Valerie Harper was pretty much a legend of television. She's been gone a few years now. And let me talk about both films together and then go into them individually. I mean, I just love old films like this. I love seeing the cars, the houses. With Night Drive, it's mostly the cars. There's a brief scene in the beginning in the kitchen. You don't really get too many exterior shots, but it's like a 70s kitchen, and then she moves to a hotel room. Then she gets an emergency call and has to leave, and the rest of the film is a tale of terror on the highways as she is fleeing the bad guy. And Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is about a couple that moves into an old house, and it's a beautiful looking house. The color on this one, I mean, I've never seen this before, so I couldn't really judge. It looked good. It looked fine. And I did mention that in the hall that the Kino Lorber, there's not a lot of extra things. There's some extra things at the end. Audio commentary by Amanda Reyes from Made for TV Mayhem. I follow her on Instagram. Oh my gosh, audio commentary by Steve Uncle Creepy Barton. I just got my picture taken with him. I just met him. I didn't even notice that. I saw that Amanda Reyes does the commentary on this one. I didn't even look at the back of this. Why? That's cool. I got to listen to this. This was also directed by John Newland, who really is a TV legend. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to come back and talk about these again after I listen to the commentary. At any rate, how about that? It's a beautiful house. And it looked great. Whenever these little creatures show up, just like a green light, it just, I couldn't believe how much it popped, how vibrant the colors were. Now, some of the rooms are the old school, like wood paneling. So, they had a lot of, brown color schemes back in the 70s. So you get some of that, but a lot of the room really pops. And a lot of the decor and the house is just gorgeous. It's beautiful to look at. So anyway, let's go into the plot of Night Terror. First, basically, as I said, we meet Valerie Harper in the beginning. She's in the kitchen getting ready for a trip. Her sister's there. She's got a husband and 2 kids. And we learn right away that she's a little bit of a frantic, hectic person. A little bit forgetful. She's trying, a little bit of a mess as far as organizing. So her husband and her sister are trying to sort of calm her down and hammer out the details of this trip. And it's rather complicated, so I won't even go into it. But anyway, they have to travel separately. Then she gets a call. She's at a hotel room, and it's somewhat late at night. And again, remember, this is way back before cell phones and everything. So she gets a phone call, and basically one of her children have been involved in an accident, and she decides she's going to leave right then and leave that night. It's like late at night, but she's just going to start driving because she wants to get there. And she's on empty, like on empty. So she goes to a gas station, and they've just closed, and there's these 2 twin, kind of obnoxious younger twins there, and a van full of their friends. The 70s, the goal was to get a van, to party in the van. So a van full of their friends pulls up, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, lady, we're closed." And she's begging with them. and then they tell her to go down the road, and then she does, but then that location is moved to another location a couple miles down the road. So by the time she gets there, she's going to be like really on empty. But in between, she sees a police officer has pulled over a guy in a very nice car. And I'm a car guy, and I should know, but I forgot to take note of it. I do collect my cars. I know die-cast cars more than real cars. And she's driving a massive station wagon, okay? And she basically sees this guy blow away a state trooper who has pulled her over. And she drives to a call box, and she's trying to give the guy the information, and she sees headlights, and she panics. And they don't, there's a call box number, but she doesn't see it. It's right there. So nobody knows really where she is. She pulls into a gas station, and I had speculated in my unboxing that this guy here, John Quaid, who, by the way, was in a series of Midas muffler commercials in the 70s. I've been watching all these Midas muffler commercials because they had so many good actors. A frequent co-star in Clint Eastwood movies. I speculated he was going to be the bad guy. He's basically like a homeless guy who's hanging out at this gas station, and he kind of helps her. He startles her at first, but then he kind of helps her, and he's almost kind of a very sad character. But the bad guy is this guy, played by Richard Romanus, who is mute. He actually can't speak, and I won't go into reasons for that. And he's on a mission. He's a criminal, basically, and when all of this happens, so he's been interrupted. So basically, that's it. He just chases her. It also starts pouring rain, so there's always that. There's the desolate sort of southwestern location, which we've seen in movies like Highwayman and Duel. The Hitcher. It's enough to make you never want to drive on any of those roads. I actually have a little bit, but and at one point she comes across a guy. This classic 70s, right? He's pulled over. He's in a nice Cadillac. He's pulled over because it's just raining too hard. So what does he do to pass the time? He takes out a flask and gets drunk. Okay, I don't know how he thought that was going to end when the rain stopped. So she can't really reason with him, and then here comes the bad guy, and then there's a whole confrontation, and they actually have to switch cars, which is really kind of a cool thing. They both have to switch cars, and she knows that this guy wants to kill her, so she actually aims for him at one point, and basically it just comes to a conclusion. It's just basically a contest of wills on the road, very nail-biting, very suspenseful, really travels some of the same ground as Duel. You get these sort of nail-biting, suspenseful chases, and very solid. Valerie Harper is very good in this role, appropriately harried and terrified, and you're just rooting for her the whole time. Very solid performance by Richard Romanus, even though he doesn't. Well, he does speak. I won't tell you how he does that, but you'll have to watch. Very good. Outstanding film. If you can find it on YouTube or Tubi or something, I would definitely watch it. Or wait for the next Kino Lorber sale. Or if you love TV movies like me, just spend the money. Because physical media matters. Anyway, next, the classic Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. The original 73 classic, directed by TV legend John Newland, starring Kim Darby, who was, I think, about 26 at the time. She looks like she's 18. She's very cute. She's very, very young. Rocking like a lot of hair, from the 70s. Her husband is played by Jim Hutton. Now, I didn't know much about him. I didn't know he was Timothy Hutton's father. And he was pegged to be like a pretty big star. He was in the Green Berets with John Wayne. He was in some other classics. He had a bit of a slump. And then just when he was making a comeback, mostly on TV, I think he had a cancer diagnosis, which is very sad. And he, passed away somewhat early. So they're moving into a house. He's trying to move up in the business world, so he's spending long days at the office. She's fixing up the house. There's a few other cast members. Her best friend is played by Barbara Anderson, TV veteran, who's very good, very sympathetic. And then you have William Demarest, who is perfect in this. He plays this cantankerous handyman who's very familiar with the house. And specifically, he keeps telling her, just to leave. There's like a little basement room, which could be nice and cozy, and there's a fireplace, but it's all bolted. It's bolted shut with like a steel plate, and it's all bricked up. And he tells her, "Well, those bricks are 4 deep and reinforced, and I'm the one that did it because they told me to. And some things are just better left alone." And he keeps, he just does not want her to mess with this, and she just keeps persisting, and she eventually gets it open, and then strange encounters start happening. And I mean, look at the cover. You've got these little creatures that come out, and they basically start harassing her, and you can hear them whispering to each other about the horrible plans they have for her. And if you were a kid in the 70s, this was like the scariest thing you'd ever seen. I mean, it was horrifying. It's a little quaint now. It's still rather well done. I believe the creatures are interesting because all three masks are a little bit different. You don't really see the mouth move. You know, the lips, I don't even know if the lips actually separate. So I guess they ADR'd all the dialogue, but they're always whispering these devious plans. And one of the creatures is actually played by a little person, so there's, even amongst the very small creatures, I mean, they're about as high as one of these, supposed to be about as high as one of these Blu-rays here. One of them is noticeably smaller, and there's a later scene where they, all of a sudden, they're moving a trash can around, and now they seem to be a little bit out of scale, but whatever. And they're basically harassing her, making her seem, you know, think that she's seen things and heard things, and her husband just doesn't have any time for it. And I don't know about you, but I know some people might find some of these things offensive, but I always kind of laugh at it, because it's basically a very, this is the 70s, so it's kind of a more chauvinistic time, and he basically thinks he's got like an hysterical wife, you know, in the house. And at one point she's telling her friend about, oh, I might have mice, and she's like, oh, mice? Oh, women's lib goes out the window for me. If I see a mouse, I'm calling my husband, you know. So a lot of the terminologies from the 70s. And I had misremembered some of it. I knew that they kind of like stalked her, and there's a dinner party, and she flips out. She looks down into this bouquet of flowers, and there's one of these little faces looking at her. And I actually thought that's when she flipped out, but then later when they're eating, one of them is under the table, and he keeps tugging in her serviette, her napkin, which is on her lap, and she keeps pulling it back, and they're having like a tug of war, and she eventually flips out. It's great. They also, at one point, get a hold of a straight razor and try to like set up a little trap for her. And eventually she catches them, and she sees that when she turns on the light, she sees that they scurry. So she knows that light is their weakness. And eventually they have a confrontation where once more the handyman the handyman starts to give a little more detail about these creatures and his experience with the people that used to live there. So at the end of it, the husband and some other people are rushing home to help the wife, and she's trying to fight off these little creatures, but she's also taking sleeping pills. Not a good combination. And I won't really go into the rest of the details, but I just love this movie. I could watch it again right now. Can't wait to watch the commentary. I can't believe I didn't read it. Uncle Creepy, which did the commentary. Oh my gosh. I just met him a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I love made-for-TV movies. Highly recommend both of these. What is your favorite made-for-TV movie? Let me know in the comments below. And I'll be back with more reviews in the future. Maybe 1 or 2 more Halloween reviews. Halloween-themed film reviews before Halloween. And then some more made-for-TV reviews in the future. All right. Thanks a lot. Later.